Here's my impression of a boring person who just saw a good movie. What kind of drugs were these writers taking? Right, guys? What?
Hey there, primitive screwheads. It's We Enjoy coming to you with Army of Darkness in today's main event as we continue our Evil Dead-a-thon. The silliest entry so far, which is saying a lot considering Evil Dead 2, but not the last of the silliest. We're going to get a little tonal whiplash going forward in this series.
The last of the silliest.
The Brian Dennehy stars in Last of the Finest. And we have the Mattitude. Eric, I'm Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric. Just got back from the grid, Goldman.
Hello, everyone. What if this week, since the last week was just us like gushing about how much we love Evil Dead 2, what if this week we just spend 81 minutes saying as much of the script of Army of Darkness as we can recount from memory?
Honestly, our recounting of Army of Darkness could be 10 minutes because we'll just be like, and then remember how cool that was?
It's so funny when he says that part and he insults the guy.
I think good. Army of Darkness overtakes Evil Dead 2 quotability wise just because there's more
it's written into the quotes. Yeah,
so and much. Ash speaks more. Like he actually has more quote things to say. And we'll talk about in the main event how they sort of dial up the character that we caught glimpses of in Evil Dead 2 into a full clown, just a full arrogant action hero. Okay. And Eric, how was your time bebopping to all that digital jazz down in Orlando?
Oh, no, it was great. Yeah, so I went to a press event at Disney World this week. All the Thrills was the overall name of it, and there were different components to it. But the main thing, I'd say the main event, was getting to see the new Tron ride. Tron Light Cycle Run, I believe is the full name. And, getting to experience it, getting to do interviews for it. And just checking out the whole thing. And I really dug the ride. I mean, the common complaint about this ride that I had already heard beforehand
is that Jared Leto's going to be in Tron 3.
No, that's a tangential complaint. No, is that it's a short ride, which is valid. It is not a long ride. It's a short ride, but it's very fun for the minute and a half or so it lasts. And also, if you're not, it really depends on how you experience theme parks and especially Disney parks. And if you're laser focused on what happens on the ride itself as the main thing, like if you treat it like Six Flags, like how many times does this whip me around? It's not going to be a favorite. But if you go into it, A, as a Tron fan, but B, even if you don't know Tron, just be like, look at the design they put into this. It's freaking fantastic because it's such a cool looking building. The way that they do the reveal mat of the grid, you get transported to the grid in the queue is so cool. Tron lends itself so naturally to a theme park environment with the lighting and the aesthetics. And
I really enjoy Tron Legacy, but a weird part of that movie was always the transition of getting Garrett Hedlund.
Yes.
Giving Garrett Hedlund to the grid because they don't show the laser like basically digitizing him and sucking him into the computer. So a lot of people came out of that movie unfamiliar with Tron, thinking his body was still in the real world and he was his mind was in the grid because it wasn't clear. I don't know why they skipped that part. It was so weird. They just assumed people remembered the scene with Jeff Bridges. But anyway, that was a quibble I had with Tron Legacy.
The laser from Tron Legacy is at the entrance to the building for this ride, or a replica there. This continues the story of Tron Legacy. Sam Flynn is part of the whole story, what's happening here. Anyway, really dug it. I did, look, the huge benefit of going to these press events is you get to go into these rides that are going to be like 3-hour wait soon with nobody around and ride them a bunch of times in a row in a way you'll never get to do again. And I realize most people don't get to do in the first place. Wrote it 6 times, but my wife wrote it 10 times. Matt.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because we wrote it twice together. And then I went to go do interviews and she just kept writing it.
Just keep it going. Keep it going.
She just kept writing it. And the people, the cast were funny. They were like counting along with her because when I rejoined her. Really, I thought the ride was really cool. like I said, some one person tweeted me like, it's like when I said I really liked it, they're like, admit it, Cosmic Rewind's better. I'm like, well, I didn't even mention Cosmic Rewind. It is, but also I can still like this ride.
First of all, Eric will tell you what's better and what isn't because he's a ranker. He'll rank these, so
right.
you don't have to play gotcha with him. Like, aha,
yeah. But it was just more funny to me that it was like, admit it. And I was like, there's nothing to admit. Okay, I'll admit it. But I still enjoyed this. And I really and the other thing is, I kind of knew it going in, but you should try to ride this ride. My pro tip: if you go to the Magic Kingdom at Disney World to ride this ride, try to do it at night, because guess what? It's a lot cooler at night, just because the building itself, how it's lit up, and the beginning of the ride, you go outside, and so to have the full effect of it lit up around you, the light cycle vehicle you're on lit up. It's definitely an added cool component. Every time the light cycle shoots outside, the color changes on the interior of the building, kind of the dome. So yeah, really dug that. It's right next to Space Mountain. It makes a cool visual, the two of them next to each other. And then Bruce Boxleitner was there, and Sidney Morgan was there from the original movie, and Steven Leisberger, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, the director, and I got to interview them, and that was all really cool. So yeah,
and it gives people another reason to go to Tomorrowland, which has always sort of been looking for that thing after Star Tour. Well, Star Tours isn't even in there in Florida. It's in Hollywood Studios, but yeah.
Well, but the big thing, I mean, not the big thing. There are some of us, Matt, who keep thinking. To me, I'm not precious about all old rides. Of course, there's some. If they ever get rid of Mr. Toad at Disneyland, I'm going to lose my shit.
You won't be the only one. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't have any preciousness about Autopia, which I've never really thought was that interesting. And to me, I'm like, just replace it with Tron. Just put Tron in Disneyland, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just swap it out. Put that there. I mean, they probably won't, but I'm just saying it's a thing they could.
Oh man, the grid, man, digital jazz. Remember at Comic-Con when they had the replica of Flynn's Arcade for the Tron Legacy thing? That was really cool.
That was really cool. And the Flynn's Arcade thing it was very popular. Oh, and then I'll quickly mention that the other big thing was getting a look at the Roundup. Am I saying what do you use? Roundup barbecue? I want to say the name right. Anyway, they finally have a restaurant at Toy Story Land, Roundup Rodeo Barbecue, and it wasn't quite open yet, but we got to preview it. It is funny sometimes at these press events, you don't exactly know what they're going to do. So it said food demo, but it didn't say it, that you would be talking to a chef and they would like show you stuff. But I didn't know for sure I get to try the food, which meant I ate food too close to this. So I couldn't.
Oh no.
Yeah. But it was really good. They've got cheddar biscuits, Matt, and they've got plenty of options for people like Matt who would be looking for alternate options. And people said they really liked those too. But I really like the barbecue. I tried,
and you threw them all up because you were sick from the ride, and they became light cycles, and they sped off into the night.
That's exactly what happened.
I can't remember if I told you off air, on air, or didn't tell you at all. But around this time last year, I was kind of about to do Galactic Star Cruiser, but then also did Magic Kingdom before it, and we timed it so that it just worked out where we were on Big Thunder Mountain we launched right as the fireworks went off in the park. And so like you could go around, go in and out and see it. It was one of the greatest moments of my life.
The bonus of being on one ride when the fireworks. We once did Small World, and right as we were exiting, the fireworks were going off. So it's just like it wasn't like we were on it the whole time, but it was still pretty cool because Small World is so close to the fireworks that it was just like, oh, it was like this bonus thing as we were disembarking Small World. So if you can time those things right, guys.
Well, you may have become digitized and ridden on a really fast, cool Tron ride, but I went to a concert this week. We went to one that started where the show didn't start at 10, but the band we were seeing started at 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. was when the band went on. When it was a small club. We kind of knew it going in too, because it was a small club and these aren't marquee acts. And so we're like, they're going to go on late. So yeah, that was I still remember the time when you and I went and saw the Pixies. and they were doing 2 shows, and we went to the early show, so it was like 7 p.m. They were going to play
I didn't remember that's how that worked.
They were playing another one at 9.
Nice. That's really funny. I will say that when Trish and I went to see Aerosmith in Vegas at the end of November, it made me really happy that has an old band doing a residency in Vegas with a much older audience, I mean older than us, that they pretty much go on like at 8:30, like at 8:00 there's a pre-show that like a retrospective. 8:30 they go on and they're gonna be done, and
they'll be done by 10. It's all good.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, perfect.
They were done by the time this band went on. I obviously, back in the day, you and I used to see a lot of late things. See late midnight movies. You still do. I don't.
Once in a while.
That's on my rear view. But this was a Vision Video fronted by online character and presence some of you may know from TikTok or Instagram, named Goth Dad, who in real life he's not this is sort of a bit he does, but in real life he's the singer of Vision Video, former paramedic, firefighter turned goth lead singer. Anyway, let's get into some speaking of, I don't know how this transition was actually going to go.
I don't know. What
was I talking about? Speaking of one person becoming something else, firefighter become. No, I'm going with the third story I have listed.
Okay.
This is not the most important story we're doing, but it was just really fun.
This is the one I don't know anything about, by the way.
So
news to me.
Basically, Last of Us, HBO released a whole sort of 30 minutes behind the scenes of making of the whole season after the season finale of The Last of Us went out. And you can watch it on HBO Max. And some eagle-eye fans spotted during some of Melanie Linsky's segments for her 2 episodes, someone who looked like Jason Ritter in the background getting prosthetics applied to be a clicker, which is even more funny. So if, for those who don't know, they're married in real life. And he was there doing a bit, just having fun, supporting his wife. And hey, could I just be one of these monsters? And the fact that he chose a monster that literally has their face covered. So once that went on, you would not have been able to recognize even that episode in general. You couldn't have picked him out because they're all fast moving. It also means crazy,
that he saves himself if they can ever cast him in something else. It's like,
yes, if he's going to be on the show in the future, they can't be like, hey, we saw him die.
Right.
But yeah, it was someone just pointed that out.
I enjoy that because they are a lovely couple. They're very nice people, and I enjoy them and their work. So
yes, they are one of the good couples out there that we will be devastated should they ever part. There's only a few of those in Hollywood, and
her ex-husband Jimmy Simpson is a great guy, and they have a really healthy, great relationship as exes, and they're super supportive of each other in a way you rarely see. So I don't know what's going on with the water.
It's all good.
Yeah. Screw them and being such nice people.
They all seem like really empathetic, warm, understanding people who you want to get to know.
Stand that.
They suck. So sad news just breaking today, which is that Lance Reddick at age 60 has passed away. Lance Reddick, you will know from Fringe, The Wire, Bosch. He's been in a ton of TV actually over this past decade that has sort of affected Eric, the shows you and I cover, especially when Fringe happened. Before that, even he's been part of the HBO family. Before The Wire, he was on Oz. And he is, for those who maybe haven't caught a lot of those shows, he's in the John Wick movies as Sharon, the concierge at the Continental, which, John Wick Chapter 4 comes out in just a week. So this is right on the precipice of that. And a lot of you probably just watched a lot of them because some people may have been doing John Wick catch-ups before 4, like I just did, because I had actually never seen 3, which was fun because Sharon got to get in on the action at the end. But I wrote a script for IGN, a little silly thing that you can catch, I assume, next week before the movie comes out. But yeah, we'll, no cause of death. I don't think we're owed cause of death. Like, it's where I think we're past this element of like, well, how did he die? I think people are naturally curious because he was only 60, but we're not owed that. Like, we know he passed, and whether or not the family wants to release why, that's up to them. So Lance Reddick, huge part of movies and TV, like movies too, not just the John Wick movies. He's in a lot of things.
Yeah, fantastic actor, like one of those people, like just kind of came with such built-in gravitas that he would just like instantly lend. He's often cast as authority figures because he exuded authority. Amazing voice, just his actual voice. And I know he did some voiceover stuff for video games. That was another big thing. I know IGN's write-up mentioned a lot. Was it Destiny? There were like 2 series.
He was in the Destiny franchise.
Yeah,
He's in Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah. Excellent actor. Like you mentioned with cause of death, it's like it doesn't matter. There's been some reports that it's natural causes, and you can wonder if that means did he have a health issue we didn't know about, or did something happen? It doesn't matter. It's just a tragedy, no matter what. Timing wise, it's just. I mean, here's the crazy thing, of course, because John Wick 4 is about to open, and is getting tremendous word of mouth and reviews. And I interviewed Lance Reddick 2 weeks ago, and I am one of many because he was doing the junket for John Wick 4. And so I talked to him and Ian McShane together. And so it is just so jarring because, of course, I know nothing about him or his life. But
I can still imagine. Yeah, that's.
It's great. Now, I interviewed him several times, mostly for Fringe, because, that was a show we covered a lot at IGN. It was like a show I loved, and I did many set visits and a lot of Comic-Con interviews. I interviewed him a bunch for that. Although I realized, I interviewed a bunch for Fringe, but I kind of bookended with other projects of things I've loved. So, John Wick Chapter 4. But then I talked to him once for The Wire. I think must have been the first time I interviewed him, and that was just sometimes you get these weird, unusual interview situations. 90% of the time interviews are very regimented, and it's like it's a junket, and you've got 4 minutes if or 8 if you're lucky, or it's a press line at Comic-Con or wherever. But once in a while you get a on the fly, this is what worked. And so I talked to Lance Reddick in his car, not in his car, in the car that HBO had sent to take him to the Wire season 5 premiere. And that was the most lengthy interview I ever had with him, because it was like 20 minutes while he was on this drive. We're just, and this was like, Fringe wasn't happening yet, but he was joining Lost, which ended up being a much more smaller role than it was supposed to be, I think, because of Fringe. I think he only ended up doing like 3 episodes.
Lost, he was supposed to be Mr. Echo. He was the first choice for Mr. Echo, but he couldn't because of The Wire.
Right. And then Abaddon was going to be his new important role, but then I think Fringe stopped that from being as important as it's supposed to be. So he only ended up doing like 3 episodes. But anyway, just terrific actor, excellent presence. And this was one of those ones that it just felt, there's many deaths are sad and many celebrity and actor deaths are sad. This is one of those ones where you just feel like, oh man, it's just like, 60 is way too young, out of nowhere for us and our perception. And obviously just kind of this outpouring of love and respect for him, because people, if they didn't know him, they just loved him as a performer. And then all these people who worked with him on all the projects we just mentioned, are putting out statements because he had so many long running things that he's been a part of, up to and including the John Wick series, which is now, almost in its 10th year of existence. So
there's a couple of projects he's still maybe coming out in. I don't know.
He's got several big ones.
Well, he's got the John Wick spinoff that he's still supposed to. I don't know. I assume he's filmed his parts for Ballerina.
No, Ian McShane told us that when we were talking to them. Yeah, we just finished Ballerina. As in the two. Yeah.
So they're in this John Wick spinoff movie, and then he's Zeus in the Percy Jackson series.
Yeah,
that's coming out. Again. That one, I don't know how much, if he's filmed all of his.
I feel like, I don't know if they've shot the entire season, but I feel like he must. I mean,
it's Zeus, so you feel like he's probably in a couple scenes and not like all throughout because it's Zeus. But so we still have some Lance Reddick to look forward to on our screens.
John Wick Chapter 4 next week. Yeah.
Yep. Gonna see it.
But
another movie.
Very. Oh, and then White Men Can't Jump remake that's going to be on Hulu. He's in that as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but super sad. Definitely, rest in peace to him, because awesome actor and presence.
Agreed. Our final news story is that something that we assumed and kind of knew in our hearts was going to happen. He didn't announce it himself until right now.
We knew actively that everyone wanted, everyone has in his partner as CEO, and
I know, but it also would have been weird if he didn't, being it was sort of the flagship opening movie of his DCU, which is that James Gunn is directing Superman Legacy, which is sort of the big. That's not the first part of his DCU, but it's the big out of the gate movie. for the Gods and Monsters part. So yeah, James Gunn's directing it, and just kind of like we wanted to, because yeah, I don't know, like as much as we've talked about Henry Cavill not returning to the role and James Gunn envisioning a different Superman and a different story and recasting it, you felt like he had this real creative vision for this story and what it wanted to be, and so it makes sense that he's going to be helming it.
I mean, the only reason it was like, I think a little bit, will he do it or not, is, he has this, huge new corporate role that's unlike anything he's ever done in his career. So it's like, it's obviously like Feige doesn't direct Marvel movies, because, and so he can jump around and be involved in all of them. This is, of course, where it is a benefit that, Peter Safran runs it with him, because it's basically like, he's going to be very busy directing a movie in a way that would stop him from being able to do like day-to-day CEO stuff. But it's like, they're these partners together working on it. So, that allows for this to happen. But yeah, obviously sounds like, and it was interesting because this has been talked about way before. Like, we kind of knew when the Suicide Squad came out that at the time DC came to him, were like, you can do any character you want, and they kind of wanted him to do Superman,
right?
Which is funny. That's how long they've been kind of trying.
Well, let's think about the fact that he is doing Superman, like this, like one of the oldest superheroes around, and just such a huge pop icon as far as an anchor, a pillar of DC. And he's made his bread and butter superhero wise doing misfits. Like Guardians of the Galaxy are super popular now, but when he first started it, these are outliers within the Marvelverse. And then, of course, the roster he picked for Suicide Squad was purposely sort of obscure and silly because that's what he's into. So Superman is sort of the antithesis of all of that.
Yes, like one of the most popular, easily to recognize, can be named by people who've never picked up a comic book in their life characters. But yeah, and he talked about how he turned it down years ago. But then there was something that really sparked him in an idea he came back to. We should also mention in the never-ending...
that doesn't mean the villain Superman won't face isn't the most obscure, stupid villain that we've ever heard of in DC.
Right. Or haven't heard of.
Yeah.
We should mention that there's this week's mini controversy that, of course, is going to become super acclaimed by the Snyder cult, was that Ben Affleck THR interview, which is a really interesting interview. I do recommend everyone reads it.
Yeah,
it's a real good assessment of him and his career and perception of him and all, but him kind of reiterating what he's already said, which is how he's very burnt out and does not want to do anything with superheroes ever again. I always say, of course, there's always this ... because he said that before he agreed to do The Flash. So it's like Hollywood is Hollywood, and you should never say 100% never. But he was very adamant that he would not direct a movie, a DC movie. And I felt he said, I wouldn't be like, when they're like, would you want to direct DC movies? Like, I wouldn't want to direct a movie there. I'm sure James Gunn is a nice guy, but I have just no interest in that. Which, to me was like, because I'm totally done with the superhero genre. I want nothing to do with it. But of course, not only are people like, haha, he hates James Gunn, but also they're like, was James Gunn lying when he said that Affleck was interested in directing something? But so that's
maybe he was a month ago. You never know.
Yeah.
It's one of those things too.
He lied to James Gunn and said, "Sure, I'll get back to you." But
it's also like, and he also mentions how like he thinks in his few minutes of scenes in The Flash that he finally actually understood and nailed the Batman character that he'd kind of been trying to find for a handful of movies now. And I saw a headline just flipping through IGN like an hour ago. I didn't read the article yet, but it was that Tom Cruise apparently loved The Flash so much he cold called the director to compliment them.
Yeah. I mean, first he asked Zaslav if he could see it, and of course, because he's Tom Cruise, Zaslav's like, "Yep," and he saw it, and then he called the director and told him how much he loved it. There's a lot of good stuff you should read in that. Like I said, that Affleck interview is very interesting, and one thing I really liked was because he and Damon, not only have they started a new production company together, but they're in Air together, which Affleck directed, and they talked about how like they're starting to kind of more work together again on screen. And I really liked what Affleck said about it was when they did The Last Duel together, Ridley Scott movie, which is fantastic, and they were like talking about how they wished they'd done more movies together, and they stopped doing it because they knew the perception was like, oh, Matt and Ben not work together. So they
now like decades later, they're like, fuck it, let's just be Matt and Ben.
Right. I think I've told this story before, but just I'll tell it briefly again, which is and because I know it'll get back to her because her husband listens to this show. So my old friend Maya, who's married to my friend Brian,
Hi Maya, I kind of know. I know her a little bit, tiny bit.
Yeah, you did. I always remember when Maya and I went to see I can't remember what we went to see, and the trailer for Rounders came on.
Oh, Rounders.
And it begins with Matt Damon, and he's like, was it Gretchen Mol, the female lead in that? Yeah. And they're talking, and then he's like, but then his old friend returned, and it's like it's the reveal of Ed Norton. But before you see Ed Norton, Maya's like, oh no, not Ben. Like she was like, because this is like already it was like this perception, like, oh, these guys, they can't not work together.
Fun fact, that movie's called
basically
Rounders.
Brian, tell Maya that it's because of people like her that two good friends felt they couldn't do movies together,
and then no one saw The Last Duel. It had nothing to do with
right.
millennial attention spans, like Ridley Scott said. It's called Rounders because John Malkovich's character loves Oreos, and he calls them Rounders. That's a little tip
about a
for
character
named
there. Johnny Rounders.
His name was Teddy KGB, I believe, in that movie. So James Gunn directing that. I actually want to see Air because Affleck directed it. If he didn't, I really wouldn't have much interest. I don't have a lot of interest about the way we glorify inventors or mathematical geniuses and stuff like that who do the impossible, but marketers, I don't know. It's a weird thing where it's like, Michael Jordan, you all know his name, but what about the guy who put him with the shoe? And I'm like, all right, let's
I mean, it is so specific.
It's a very capitalistic American dream like thing where it's like glorifying. I would rather watch an actual Michael Jordan biopic? Yes, but like, what about the guys who came up with his shoe?
It's so easy to parody. Like, it makes you want to see the SNL about like the guy who invented the Mexican pizza.
It's like the same month
that
that Tetris is coming out. It's like these people with these $1 billion ideas.
Although Tetris has a crazy real story.
It is like from Russia, but I'm just talking about like the person who comes up with the strike it rich $1 billion idea, like that just sort of like is the real hero, everybody in this country. The publicists and marketing teams are the unsung heroes of America.
I want just like ultra specific ones. Like I want the guy who came up with the subtitle Electric Boogaloo. And it's like said by people who don't really know that movie, but they know to say
it's just something to Electric funny Boogaloo. Sequel subtitle. Yeah. All right, let's move into some listener write-ins, some listener reading here, which is first comes from, I'll just say right off the bat, Christoph Black, who wrote in on Patreon, had some Scream comments for us about Scream 6, having listened to our Hudson Hawk only Scream 6 episode. Christoph, I'm not going to read it on the air because it's spoilery and it's just more questions for us, so we can respond if we want to on the Patreon to him. Brian from New Jersey writes in to the Gmail, which is weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. Still love the podcast, still brightens my day. I hadn't watched Evil Dead 2 before, partly because I was turned off by the idea of watching a sequel first, but your podcast pushed me to do it. So I'm glad I did. Love you guys. Chainsaw hand lift, Brian from New Jersey.
Then well, thank you for that. And also just, so many of us, that's how we experience this series. So you're going truly old school.
You are joining the masses with that one. Michael writes in on Patreon. Hey, Enjoy Boys, I'm loving your coverage of Evil Dead, one of my favorite film series. I have to do a shout out for their fantastic behind the scenes bonus features, from watching them improve movie to movie to seeing how they tortured Bruce and Ted. It's all great. There was also a fun game slotted between Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness called Evil Dead Regeneration on the PS2. Did either of you play it by chance? Michael, I did not play it. There was a large gap in my video game playing, and that was mostly around the time the PS2 existed.
I recall that game because that was also when there was like a Buffy game, and there was a bunch of games I felt like I should be playing, but I didn't. And I remember that Evil Dead game because it was kind of like the first big deal Evil Dead game. I also haven't played the current Evil Dead game, which I'm very interested in because they've brought in characters from the whole franchise.
Evil Dead,
and they brought in Mia from the remake we're going to talk about next week, a reboot or however you want to call it. So I know that's kind of a fun crossover game. So I do want to check that out. I do want to mention, I was going to say this for later, but because this naturally leads into it, with the bonus feature stuff, which is, yes, there's a lot of great bonus features across the Evil Dead trilogy, especially the first 3 that Raimi directed. And I forgot to mention last week that the Evil Dead movies are kind of notorious and something to easy joke about, as far as they have to be up there along with the original Halloween as one of the most re-released titles ever, as in, like, they will constantly repackage them
in physical media, you mean? Yeah.
Physical media. That, like, if you were to look up every release of Evil Dead 2 from VHS to 4K, it would be like a comically large amount of, like, here's the one in this packaging, here's the one with new bonus features, here's the one with the director's cut, just over and over and over again. And if you're, a big fan, many of us have bought a few of those. I don't know about how many have bought every one of them, but certainly I've purchased Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, especially, many times. And in fact, when this was my first time ever watching the 4K, I bought late last year, which came out last year.
Well, Eric, where's the movie about that person, the person who gets so much money out of people by repackaging the Evil Dead series on physical media? Marketing genius.
There was a recent quote from Bob Iger, about who's, obviously been brought back to Disney to try to kind of fix some things and get their finances better. And he was mentioning how, because as we're seeing, maybe the pivot to streaming was too much too quickly, and it's not great for your financials when that's what you're leaning on for everything on subscriptions alone. And everyone's learning that the hard way, and they're going back to theatrical releases more.
I think also people are learning that by the time everyone pivoted to streaming so heavily, there were way too many streamers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that was the thing. Yeah. Like, if it was just Netflix, Hulu, and Disney Plus, or just 3 or 4 of them, it would be one thing, but there are 8 or 9 of them. So yeah. Everyone sort of sunk. Yeah.
Iger had a quote at some, like, investors thing about how, talking about how important physical media stuff had been to the company, and looking at that again. And I'm not naive.
Like, this penis drawn into the Little Mermaid
art. Yeah. Everything's not going to switch back. They're not going to suddenly get everyone to buy, like, a new player, but there's still an audience there. And the thing that really I'm hopeful for is the shit, like, it's crazy to me that, and these are all Disney titles, which is always a funny thing to remember, but that there are no physical releases right now for Prey, Barbarian, or Hellraiser, 2022 Hellraiser, because who buys more physical media shit than the horror fans?
Horror people buy everything. In fact, we were talking about the Scream popcorn bucket from Cinemark,
which I ordered,
which sold out. But when I went to ask about it, knowing that they wouldn't have it, they said, "Okay, but you can pre-order it for August." They have it on back order for August because horror movie fans are that crazy,
like to physically have stuff,
and they will have it. Yeah. They will have it in time for Halloween and their horror movie marathons, and they can eat popcorn out of it. And then when the next Scream movie opens next year or whenever, then they'll have it again. Right. So yeah, August is, like, not too late. It's just later. That's all.
Yeah. But yeah, so that, to me, I hope I'm not the only one pointing this out, that it's, like, is funny when stuff like that doesn't come on physical media, because we're the fuckers who buy that shit. So we'll see what happens.
Joe writes in on Patreon, hey everybody, hearing Eric mention that he loves that his birthday is in Evil Dead 2 reminds me that my birthday, August 29th, has a more somber movie moment. You see, August 29th, 1997 is the day Skynet became self-aware.
Yay!
Here's hoping I at least got to play a new Nintendo 64 game and have my customary cinnamon rolls for breakfast before the nukes went off on Judgment Day. Take it easy, guys. Let's not think too hard about what our parents were doing on New Year's Eve, Eric. Let's see, August. Well, mine too, right? No, actually, here's the thing. Yeah. I was 2 months early. So I was a premium. Okay. Yeah, so there you go.
Okay. Now mine were
I'm August 19th, but I was supposed to be in.
No, mine was definitely holiday sex, because my parents were reconciling after 6 years of separation, but he had moved to Chicago and they were only seeing each other, like, every few weeks.
Oh, so like you have, like, actual definite itineraries for this. Yeah.
I have a little more specific idea than I need to about when I was created. Yes.
All right, let's get into our good things to enjoy for this week, Eric.
Which are both things that we have talked about. Like, we've not made them official recommendations yet. We've both.
So we can go through them quickly because we have talked about them and recommended them in here and there and thereabouts on this podcast, but never made them official. So let's do it. Eric, you are recommending something that I definitely know you've talked about on this podcast.
100% I have, but in honor of Lance Reddick, because it was, when him passing away today and everyone talking about his great roles, thought about The Guest, which is a film that, he was not like a face on the poster of, but he has a small but crucial role in, where it's one of those things where you cast someone because they bring with them this gravity, this gravitas. Because you need a kid. In that case, he's playing this. He's playing an authority figure. He's playing a character who has all the answers, and that's what he was there to do, and he does that so well. Yes, I've definitely mentioned The Guest before because we've talked about Adam Wingard before, and I did officially recommend your next Adam Wingard's movie before The Guest. But yeah, this is like one of my favorite movies of the past decade. And a movie I revisit all the time, and a movie I showed to Matt Fowler, and a movie I very recently finally got my wife to watch, which is, I think, one of the times I've mentioned it in passing. Was like, I got my wife to watch The Guest, and she loved it. I think there's 2014, and Adam Wingard movie that it's funny. It's genre-wise, it's a little even tricky to explain what it is. It's not a horror movie. I think
it's suspense. It's sort of like thriller, suspense, action, right? Like,
yeah. And it's not a parody, but it's definitely got like a winking feel to it, because it's in some ways it's the Psycho Next Door or Under Your Roof movie, because it's a movie about a grieving family who the oldest son died overseas. He was a soldier and he died overseas. And one day there's a knock at their door, and it's this handsome young man played by Dan Stevens saying, "Hey, I was one of your son's best friends. We were in a unit together, served together. That's me. He can prove it. He's in a picture with the son. And I came to see you because I wanted to reach out to, he has messages to give from that he wants to pass on," and how they take him in, especially the mom, who's like sort of looking for something to grasp onto from her son. But that ... there's something sinister going on, that, she's let this man into her house that she should not let into the house. He's got some stuff going on. Anyway, it's super fun. The tone of it, it gets very heightened in very fun ways, especially where the Lance Reddick character even is involved. What is the deal with this guy? There's actually some deleted, at least one big deleted scene with Lance Reddick that explained more before they decided. And I think they're right that they didn't want to explain as much about the backstory here, just you get enough about what's going on. But super fun, really great soundtrack. It's a bunch of like throwback like 80s synth rock and pop, and
it's got one of my favorite Love and Rocket songs in it.
Yep, a great Love and Rocket song. I do know I mentioned it recently because when I recommended that John Hughes box set, I said it's got a song from The Guest was also in a John Hughes movie. Anyway, just tonally really cool, really fun. Love the conclusion. It also was one of a couple movies back to back for, God, I never know how to say her first name right. Micah Monroe, who did this and It Follows, and they opened a few months apart. And I really wish she had a bigger career, because I think she's terrific in both these movies. She was in a couple movies recently that she was great in. But anyway, just constantly go back to it. And Adam Wingard, who's someone I'm a fan of generally, this is my favorite of the stuff he's done.
Of the Wingardian oeuvre.
Of the Wingardian oeuvre. And I should mention Simon Barrett, who is his like frequent collaborator and writes most of his stuff, and didn't write Godzilla vs. Kong, but now is writing the sequel that added the Dan Stevens is in. I
hope he's playing the same character.
I hope so as well. Just really great stuff. It's funny. So I had to be really specific on the script here about where you can rent or buy it. It's not like most things we recommend. If we say rent or buy everywhere, this one's hyper specific. It's on Vudu, Microsoft, or DirecTV. It's not on your Apples and your Amazon.
Yeah, usually you can rent things on all the places, but this
this is a smaller one. But anyway, The Guest. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. And if you're looking at, like, again, I don't want to overset, like, Lance Reddick's only in a few scenes, but he is an important character. But the whole movie is just great stuff.
All right. My movie is not because or dedicated to or in the memory of Lance Reddick, but it does have someone else. It does have someone else who died at 60. So
did he die at the same age? I mean, I knew
61, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, mine. Going back a few decades to 2001, talking about Bill Paxton, who we all felt the hurt when we lost him because he was so great and everything. And this was the only movie he ever directed. Was a leading role in this movie and also directed. But prior to this, he directed the Fish Heads video in 1980.
Yeah.
Fish Heads was a novelty song that was like big on the Dr. Demento radio show. And after that, he only directed this, and it is called Frailty. And it is sort of a suspense horror thriller thing, you know, all the hyphenations that we probably just gave the guest, with maybe more of a supernatural tone to it. But it is, and I won't say much about the. I'll just give you the setup of this movie. It also stars Matthew McConaughey, and it takes place in two different times because there's a lot of flashbacks that happen throughout the movie that inform the present day stuff, which is that Matthew McConaughey plays a guy who goes to an FBI agent named Powers Booth and said, "Hey, the
FBI agent is named Powers Booth."
Yeah, isn't it crazy? First of all, Powers Booth is a great name.
It is an amazing
Powers
name.
Booth has one of the all-time great actors' names.
Yeah,
who could have been an actual action hero.
Yes.
Sort of like when you learned that Ricky Steamboat's name was Richard Blood.
Well, that's why it was great that Rapid Fire was one of the few times that a trailer said his name, because it was like Brandon Lee, Powers Booth, Rapid Fire, because he deserved it.
And then, but also, I think the sudden.
I think he might have get sudden death. Yeah.
What was it called? Was that the hockey movie?
Sudden Death.
Yeah, Sudden Death. Yeah, he was.
They go into sudden death overtime, Matt.
They do, and he's taken the vice president hostage at a hockey game. So anyway, Matthew McConaughey goes to the FBI agent and said, "Hey, I know who there's this serial killer going around. There are these killings. I know who did it. It's my brother. I will lead you to the bodies. My brother is disturbed, and he actually recently committed suicide." And in doing this, he's telling the story of how he and his brother were both raised by their father. And the father in the flashbacks is played by Bill Paxton. And Bill Paxton is somebody who himself was a serial killer, except that as the kids are being raised by him, the father is adamantly under the belief that he has been chosen by God and by an angel to destroy demons who are disguised as human beings, and that he can see these demons. He's been given the gift to see these demons. And basically how it sort of fucks up both brothers. One becomes sort of like a loyalist and on their papa's side, and the other one's sort of a doubter and thinks and his father's crazy. And it's like, oh my God, my brother is just sort of like pretending to see these demons, and I don't know what to do about this. And he keeps getting punished. So it becomes a very, very intense, abusive household, and then on top of that, murdering people. And then it flips back and forth between present day and the past. And it's just a really great movie, much less debut movie from somebody as a director. And the three I mentioned are kind of the three biggest stars in this movie. But yeah, this was still during when Matthew McConaughey was a name, because it was 2001. So yeah, I recommend Frailty. You can watch it on HBO Max, so a little easier than
I dig this movie too.
Yeah,
this is a great movie, and like you said, it's like it's a shame Bill Paxton to direct again, because we mentioned Affleck, who it turned out was a great director and has done several films. I don't know why Bill Paxton didn't direct another one, because this was got well received, and you'd think he would do more. Maybe he just wasn't interested, or maybe the right thing just didn't line up. But
it didn't it wasn't like a huge hit. It wasn't super bomb. I think people just I think people talk about it the way we just spoke about it, which is like, hey, an offhanded recommendation as an underrated sort of cult movie that is worth checking out, that had theatrical release but kind of slips under most people's radar. So anyway, Frailty is what I recommend this week. And let's get into the hailing to some kings, baby. Next week, Evil Dead 2013, which is
they dropped the from this one.
Yeah, just Evil Dead. You can rent it or buy it. And with this movie, you'll see in a week, they go back to the gore, but they remove the camp. And you see this with the trailers too. The Evil Dead Rise seems to have the tone of this movie, because in between there was Ash vs. Evil Dead, which was very totally different and went back to super being silly and stuff like that. We went back to the silly and gory. Now, Army of Darkness is way heightened in the silly, way dampened and dialed down on the gore. There's a
The least
notable blood
horror
geyser
of everything in this series so far.
Yes. There's a blood geyser that's done for comedy, obviously, but after that, yeah, no oozing. Think about the movies we just came off of. No spewing, no oozing, no multicolored liquids of any kind coming out of orifices and bodies.
There's little bits. I mean, I'm talking about. It's hard for you and I, Matt, because we're so immune to this stuff, or we just think it's fun and cool. I'm like, okay, I get people who are like ultra sensitive to this stuff. Like when the eye is on his shoulder, that would probably freak out some people. But it's all little things.
I don't. That's
no.
Though.
We've talked about though. It's like I remember this. You asked me several weeks ago. We go, "Is Samurai Darkness R?" It is. It just doesn't feel that R.
No, and it even only has the one F-bomb that makes you think it was PG-13. So
yeah. But it was always R. They wanted a PG-13 in the studio and they couldn't get it. We've talked a million times now, especially recently, about how it seems like it's so much easier to get rougher stuff through with the MPAA today than it was when we were kids. And this feels like a great example of that. Because it's like, I feel like this movie, if presented to the MPAA today, either would just get a PG-13 or they'd ask for some minimal cuts and they would get it. I think that they'd be able to get it today.
So yeah, I'm not going to say that the Ash in this movie is a totally different character, but it's very, very different. And, again, we got the seeds planted in the last movie when he was being sort of tortured and frustrated and unnerved by the house, and to the point where he would just get so mad and like lose his mind. And then the transition in the third act where he became like this action hero,
the badass,
like catchphrases and stuff, which almost felt like a reactionary antithesis to who he was in the first movie, which was a lot more reluctant and a lot more sort of like cowardly at the start,
tentative,
and stuff like that. So this Ash does not feel like the Ash from the first movie, who was like pretending to be asleep when Linda's like looking at the gift box,
a
and, like,
cheesy romantic,
And you could argue that he also doesn't even feel like the Ash in the reshot Evil Dead opening with Bridget Fonda part, where you assume he was the guy from that first movie too. He didn't feel like the tool that like exists throughout the rest of the movie. It's almost like that part of him only got awakened in 1300 AD. Except that when he goes back, he's kind of that guy. So yeah, who is the real
you're right,
Ash?
because he does say I had a wonderful girlfriend, Linda, not like I had a chick named Linda.
Right. It sounded like the guy who would give his Linda a necklace, whichever Linda it was.
Yes.
And that maybe that whole experience with the cabin just like fucked him up, and he just turned into basically a character who's been aped many, many times since, especially with someone like Duke Nukem, is like this braggadocious cocksure hero who also gets his ass kicked quite a bit, because as cocky as he becomes in this movie, at no point does Sam Raimi let up on like the torturing of him. It just changes and modifies a bit to become even more slapstick, even more comedic, silly, where this is a swashbuckling adventure movie. Like this is an Errol Flynn type old, whether you were sick on a school day or watching a sort of a channel on a weekday or weekend afternoon, or like the serials that Steven Spielberg grew up on that became Indiana Jones, but like Errol Flynn, Gulliver's Travels, The Legendary Voyage of Sinbad, even Conan the Barbarian. These are some of the movies that influenced Sam Raimi. So yeah, it's just different all around. And it's hilarious and infinitely quotable. Eric, just like we said with Evil Dead 2 last week, even the lines that don't mean anything are so etched in our brains that we say them.
Yes,
not just the cool like things he says when he kills somebody who is about to kill a deadite or something like that. Anything goes in this movie.
Every moment of this movie. Again, we mentioned this last week, but it's like, Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness are two of the most rewatched movies in my life, and just the VHS versions over and over and over and over again. And you can see the through line of like each movie makes Ash more easily the reason he's become a cult hero becomes more and more apparent on each movie, and that he is now so iconic. Now they're definitely they're having their cake and eating it too, because he is over the top competent at sometimes, as far as like being a badass and like shooting someone without looking at them. And, like the joke is that he's like so badass, but then half the time he's just the buffoon.
Well,
who
that's the thing.
Everyone
He's
will
able
beat
to
up.
make like a steampunk robot hand, and he's able to
right.
with a high school chemistry book, he's able to like make a car with a propeller and like all these fucking things. And he's able to train these guys to fight. He's able to mobilize them and become a leader. But then there's the other side of him that's just the complete shitheel. And like,
Yeah.
he won't go that, like, he takes everything to 99.9%, but that 1% is he won't say the words right. Like, he just refuses to. It's like a sticking point for him. It's like, yes, this is the hill I will die on. I won't learn the last of these 3 words.
Right. It's funny too, because it's like, it really goes to show you, like, when you feel confidence in a director, how much that can change things. Because this movie, especially the beginning, which is a very funny beginning, because we talked about how we talked about a lot of things. We talked about Friday the 13th and Rocky movies, and how they would just show you 10 minutes of the last movie to catch you up. And then we talked about how Evil Dead 2, which is a quasi remake, and just at least the first 6 minutes or 7 minutes, or it's like, here's a very truncated version of what happened in the last movie reshot. Army of Darkness is a weird mishmash, because they reshoot some of it, and like
they reshoot like chopping off the hand to remove the blood.
Bridget Fonda becomes Linda number 3, but then they also use direct footage from Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
There's a ton of continuity errors.
And they gave him like an occupation. We meet S-Mart for the first time. Like,
we meet S-Mart, we know what he does. But I'm just saying that, like, the beginning is funny, because by intercutting Evil Dead 2 footage, and not trying to match it 100%, the white in his hair disappears, because we see it when we don't see him get it, but we see it when he's sucked through the portal. When he lands, it's very much not where he stands up, because they use the landing, but then they shoot new footage of when he stands up. And it's just a funny thing that with other directors, like when you watch like a cheap movie and you're like, oh my God, the continuity is terrible, look, they're incompetent, you never feel that about Sam Raimi. And I'm saying you didn't feel it at the time, because you're like, you kind of know that he's like, someone said, I'm sure someone in the studio said, hey, that doesn't match. He goes, I don't care. Like, it's I don't have the money to make it match. So, and I just think it's fun.
He's not a schlockmeister. Like, it's not like trauma films or something like that.
No.
There's still an element of budget that we always accept about his movies. Even like some of the effects in this movie is like with some of the green screen stuff, even then wasn't good.
No, like, this is the same year as Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
so it's like,
when the little ashes, I think are trying to hold his nose shut while his mouth opens.
Not. It doesn't look.
It doesn't line up. It looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
But who gives a shit? There's tiny little ashes running around.
It's the joke. The joke is what's important.
And is it like even important that they're not all, that they didn't even like make Bruce Campbell run around a bunch? It's Bruce Campbell and a bunch of guys with black hair who are not clearly not Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. No, totally. It's part of the charm. It is funny watching it on 4K where it looks better than ever, which means I see those things more than I ever did. But they, like I said, it's like they knew that people would spot that stuff, but I think they also knew that people would go with it, because tonally it's part of the fun of this movie. And even like the very old school stop motion for some of the skeletons, like Ray Harryhausen type.
Oh yeah, like
which again,
Titan stuff. Yeah,
did not look in 1993 is not what we were expecting from special effects. All while this is of course the most expensive movie of the trilogy by far, and it's the first one from a big studio. This was made by Universal after he made Darkman, so he's made his jump. Like we said, Evil Dead 2. I think gave him an even bigger foothold into like Hollywood being interested because of the tone of that movie. And so now Universal hires him to do Darkman, which is a mild success.
And even Darkman has like wonky green screen.
Yeah,
like, and purposely, like it just is. And we accept it.
Which is again why with Doctor Strange, it's a weird mix, because there's so much controversy about special effects and Marvel, and are they rushing the effects people and this and that. But it's so hard with Sam Raimi when people are like, this looks wonky, that you're kind of like,
I'm like, have you seen what it looks like when Darkman's flying away on a helicopter away from a train tunnel, and it doesn't look good at all? It's a thing where it's like, back then, I think some of us, I know I did, sort of rationalized it being like, well, it looks more comic booky this way, like a comic book panel, like it's not real. Where that doesn't fly nowadays. But Yeah, so the effects are wonky. It would be about 10 years later that Bridget Fonda winds up marrying Danny Elfman, even though they kind of collaborate here and for this movie with Danny Elfman doing the March of the Dead theme. And do you think, skipping all the way to the end now, because Angela Featherstone, who was never super famous, but she's all over the 90s in movies and TV. And so you probably recognize her at that final scene as the other employee at the store who obviously worked with Linda too, hitting on Ash after he said his girlfriend died and he buried her in the woods somewhere.
Sure.
Nobody's suspicious about Ash and Linda right at this point. But my question is, do you think her name is Linda also?
Oh,
you just keep dating Lindas from S-Mart.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, it's all possible. And also I want to mention that because you said this is like a swashbuckler, this is so tonally different. The biggest thing this leans towards in Raimi's career, of course, is that he and Rob Tapper going on to produce Hercules and Xena together, which, you know, I'm willing to bet until the Spider-Man movies is got to be the thing that probably made him the most money as like a single project, because those were so successful.
Oh, all through the 90s,
yeah. And, you know,
and then even Bruce Campbell, who was Autolycus on those shows as a recurring character, got his own spin-off series. He wasn't Autolycus on the series, though. I don't think it was a full
no, it wasn't. It wasn't
a spin-off series. It was just his own series from those guys, and only lasted a season. I think.
So yeah, I just this kind of leans you into that side of them.
Oh, man,
that they like doing this
so far. And the couple years we've been doing this podcast has recommended Briscoe County Jr.
Ah, I know. I have the box set
Jr.
on physical media.
I think that's probably where you can only stream it nowadays. Is physically right. In your own DVD or DVD or VHS player, or get the CD and just listen to the episodes. So Army of Darkness, like Eric already mentioned, reshoots the backstory, inserts Bridget Fonda in the Linda character role, uses some footage from the first movie, takes us through the time
from the
portal.
second movie.
From the second movie, sorry. It takes us to the time portal, switches that immediately so that when he falls, he's immediately sort of beset upon by the soldiers. But before all of this happens, because Bruce Campbell as Ash does the actual voiceover recap this time, telling us what's happening and not like some professor voice or something like that, is that we get an in media res opening. And I always wonder, like, I never did the research myself, like who popularized this type of thing first? I know TV-wise, Alias was a big thing. I know that J.J. Abrams was big into bringing that into episodic television. But movie-wise, this is the meme that we use nowadays of like, hey, it's me. I guess you're wondering how I got into this situation. Record scratch, which is like, that's the way this movie opens is, my name is Ash and I'm a slave. First of all, he's not, because he was just going to be fed to a pit. But yeah.
Yeah, he was just taken prisoner and going to be killed.
He was a prisoner of war unduly, but yeah. So it's just a weird thing. All right, Ash.
He overdoes. He's exaggerator. I was thinking how funny this movie. It is crazy that Universal was making this movie, because you think about it. This is part 3 in a trilogy that were small little micro budget. Again, this is a low budget movie, but it's for Universal. It's still like, I think it was 11 million. So there was some real money put into this movie versus the first two, which were made on like shoestrings.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they also used the hell out of that castle courtyard set.
Oh yeah,
like opening, closing. Yeah. Like,
but the thing is, it's part 3 of a trilogy to movies that are only going to be seen by a very small, they're cult movies, they're popular, but they're cult movies. Universal is going to be putting this out in way more screens than those other movies played to way more people. First and foremost, because I know they batter around the title Medieval Dead, which is really fun, but I'm sure Universal was like, we can't market this as Evil Dead 3 because we want people who don't know those movies to go see it. But it is Evil Dead 3, so what an insane opening, right? For if you don't know those movies.
Well, so when I saw this movie with your middle school nemesis Steve Milan, I don't know. I can't recall at this point in my life if he had seen at least Evil Dead 2. So it was meant for guys like Steve Milan, who I assume is also dead at this point because he doesn't have a digital footprint anywhere. But yeah, so I don't know exactly. So like right in this, just the two of us going to the movie is somebody a huge fan of the movies that came before it, and somebody who maybe probably didn't actually see any of the movies that came before it. And this movie's meant for that, and they rush you through the opening. And Ash is funny and silly enough to and reacting to everybody that you're just going to go with it. And everything's quotable. So who gives a shit? Like, It's all just one big silly time from the medieval knights, or the soldiers in Arthur's battalion stabbing at the Oldsmobile with swords. And already Ash is getting beat up by little kids on the way to the pit.
He's almost immediately beat up by little kids, and then Sheila, because she thinks that he killed her brother. I do want to backtrack for 1 second just to say that the actual title when it comes up is very funny, because again, you have to think in 1993,
like who was Bruce Campbell?
Who was Bruce Campbell?
Right, exactly.
To give him not only before the title, but versus a very funny thing, Bruce Campbell versus Army of Darkness. Now that was meant for us, but so many people who are like, he's an unknown actor to them, and he gets this tremendous, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger versus would make sense, but it's just very funny.
Well, let's bring up Sheila here, played by Embeth Davis, who the following year would be in a big role in Schindler's
same
List.
year. It bookended the year, February and December, both Universal movies. So I thought that was really funny.
Oh wait, I thought Schindler's List was 93.
It was. So was this. We've had this conversation before.
Oh, okay. The Army of Darkness came out in 93. Okay. So
yeah, it's listed as 92 because of film festivals. I hate that they do that.
Did Embeth Davis win a Fangoria Chainsaw Award for Schindler's List?
She did not. She was overlooked.
Was Fangoria bribed because there's a Fangoria scene in Ash's trunk in this movie? Was there product placement? Who's to say what shenanigans went on? But anyway, Embeth Davis, Fangoria Chainsaw Award winner for Best Supporting Actress as Sheila the She-Bitch in Army of Darkness, but she's been in a lot of movies too, like not just.
And she's done a ton of stuff, and Mad Men, and she was just an old a couple years ago.
She was in The Amazing Spider-Man as Peter's mom. So
a very notable 93 for her, because those were her first two movies. She done some TV.
You saw Old. Apparently, she's in Old, which I did not see.
Yeah, she is. Can I give you a slight spoiler for Old?
I mean, you can give me a slight spoiler for Old. Can you give our listeners a spoiler?
Yeah, I'm going to give her. No, it's funny just because in the final act of the movie, she is the lead because the two kids they get older. So it's like she takes over as like the lead role in the final act of that movie. It's like,
okay, so she's like a grown-up version of one of the kids.
Of the it's a brother and sister.
Got it.
So she's the sister in the final act of that movie. But it's just funny that 93 two completely tonally different movies, both from the same studio and both from really distinctive directors with really distinct styles.
And then we've also got Ian Abercrombie in there as the wise man, who everyone will know as Mr. Pitt from Seinfeld, but also Alfred Pennyworth, one of the few live action Alfred Pennyworths, and his brief stint on Birds of Prey.
And then, but also he was Emperor Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine / Darth Sidious on Star Wars: The Clone Wars until he passed away, and then Tim Curry took over the role. And then when Tim Curry unfortunately had a stroke, now it's just been Ian McDiarmid voicing that character. But Ian Abercrombie was the Emperor for most of the Clone Wars run.
All right.
And I have to tell you one other funny thing about the cast of this movie, which is
Bill Moseley's in it.
That was not what I was going to say. Although that's cool too. He's some people might not know who that is, but he is a beloved genre actor who's been.
But wasn't he? Okay, Bruce Campbell played the evil Ash character, or was it right? Like he is his right-hand man. Ash.
He is his right-hand man. He has like a couple lines. Okay. He's got like a horned helmet. And he comes in next to him.
Yes. Okay. So I know who he is because I even put it in my notes. There's a point in the movie where Evil Ash and this character ride off on horses, and it's very obviously just a dummy puppet skeleton with horns, like shaking around on the horse. There's no person there. It's just like...
So Mosley didn't do that. No, the actor I wanted to mention was Richard Grove, who plays Henry the Red, only because Matt Tonight is when I found out I've had a mistaken belief about that actor for 30 years.
Who do you think he was? Do you think he was someone else?
No, I just didn't realize that.
You think he was your real dad? What do you think?
For 30 years, I thought, that actor also had a prominent role in Braveheart. because I haven't seen Braveheart probably since the
Oh,
theater.
that's a different guy. Yeah.
No, it's a different guy named Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have known at the time, and I was absolutely convinced that's Henry the Red from Army of Darkness. But no, that was Brendan Gleeson. Two different men with red hair.
But you could argue maybe the same character.
They were basically, that's the thing, is Brendan Gleeson is very Henry the Red.
He is. He's very. I think we could all be a little more Henry the Red, to be honest.
Sure. He
in our
seems
lives.
so jovial. Yeah,
He is. He's jovial. He's accepting of his defeat. He's also like, he also realizes his role in everything because
he does a fun over the top laugh himself at one point.
Yeah, and he's like, and again, man, his lines, like, "Thank you, generous host. I didn't think they'll listen."
I do not think they'll listen, lad.
Like all these things is like everyone's line in this movie we say, like, even if they're good or not. But yeah, so Arthur, who's honestly like the prick in for the beginning of the movie and very reluctant, he instantly does not want to think that this guy is the one prophesized that from the Necronomicon, even though the wise man clearly says he is. And Arthur doesn't even consider it. He's like, you know what? What if I just kill him?
Right.
And it's almost like this is the sort of the weenie character that you think would also maybe have a crush on Sheila. It's not there, but like honestly, they could have put that in too, because then when she gets with Ash, he hates Ash even more. But he's also like the guy who's against the hero at the beginning and then rallies with him at the end. And he's also very, very selfless because he's like willing to die, just protect the book. The whole third act is like protect the book, save the land. So yeah, Arthur redeems himself in a way.
And Arthur and Sheila are the straight men here.
Yes.
It's like they're for, because Henry gets to be big and boisterous, but
Ted Raimi plays like 5 people.
And Sheila gets to go crazy as evil Sheila, but Arthur's pretty much just steadfast and fighting for honorable reasons the whole movie.
Except for the fact that he was going to kill the prophesized one. He's a pretty good guy. Okay. Then, we get to the big courtyard, the big castle set that they've got that they're going to milk the most out of. And you know what? No one notices. It's really cool that this world is very sparsely populated. It's just a bunch of desert land. And we get the pit, which is the first, we start hearing about the Deadites. We start hearing about how these two clans are warring when they really should be sort of united against the evil that's sort of enveloped their entire kingdom, but they're too busy infighting. But somehow, I don't know what we're supposed to think about this, is that they trap these Deadites in this pit. Someone built this, by the way. It does seem like when you get down into the pits, it's more of a cave catacomb situation. So maybe existed under the castle already.
The first two movies had, obviously the first two movies have these big, mirrored moments, and this one continues that, even though it's going to go in a lot of different directions, but clearly the pit serves as the cellar. It's your closest thing to the cellar, complete with when Ash climbs out, it's a visual recurring thing of the one arm, the second arm of pulling out of the cellar. But he pulls himself out of the pit. So especially because he goes off in the side, it's like the cellar with these sort of side tunnels and
I fell in the pit. You fell in the pit.
But talking about how
a little mouse rat.
Even the side character stuff, one of the lines I always laugh at, but also what happens at the end of it, which is into the pit with those bloodthirsty sons of whores, and then she bites the bread.
Bites the bread.
That's the
bread-eating old woman.
God,
it's. Yeah, but also, so let's talk about it. We don't get the opening recreation of Evil Dead 2. We got a little bit of the Raimi cam. The Raimi cam won't chase Ash until he gets on horseback in 10 minutes from this point. But we get some Raimiism still, like the guy running and shooting the crossbow, and the close up of the crossbow and how it sticks him to the post. The
point of view of the arrow.
Yeah, and then he when everyone looks back to see who's next, and we follow the camera as people's heads turn, and it winds up with Ash, and then he looks to his side and there's a sword facing this. All these Raimi touches are in there before we get to the action, which is just full Raimi. We already mentioned the blood geyser, which is sort of the comedic bit of the first person who goes in the pit, and it's just a geyser of blood, which is even funnier when you think of how when Ash goes in, he's basically face to face with a Deadite who decides to kick the shit
just
out of him.
start punching him.
Just punching him comedically in the face.
That's one of the few times like that sequence is like, oh, this is kind of horror movie more than the rest of the movie. But then she starts just punching the fuck out of him,
like stomping on his dick and doing gymnast flips and all these things. Yeah, so that's the most horror movie element, which is like the hand coming out and disappearing when it comes around, and then the pop out and the guy popping
and they
out
keep
of the wall.
the Deadite look is retained in this movie with the dead eyes and whatnot. I also wanted to mention with the arrow, I can, because this is my gift, this is my curse of remembering hyper specific things, of remembering movie reviews I would read at the time, because I was obsessed with that stuff. And I remember a review that thought that the point of view shot of the arrow was parodying Prince of Thieves, because it had that pretty famous, the trailer was like the arrow splitting the other arrow. Yeah. Even though now we're like, no, that's just Sam Raimi being Sam Raimi. Like, I don't think he was parodying Robin Hood Prince of Thieves from a year before or 2 years before.
Robin Hood Men in Tights was parodying
yes.
Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. But yeah, so then he gets
and when he falls in the pit, also it's like this fun thing of the over the top like action hero moments. So when he takes off his belt and he's Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
it whips
he
perfectly,
whips it around the
ties
chain.
him around. Yeah,
and this is one. So like as far as like what he actually uses, because after this he builds himself a bionic hand. He uses the chainsaw here, like chops up like actually Wiseman's like strange one and throws it down, and he leaps up again.
Perfect
ridiculous but awesome moment where he clicks his arm into it. One
of many moments that just absolutely, of course, gets like crazy applause when you watch this.
And then he escapes both of the Deadites, chopping one hand. The hand hits the bread woman in the face. Like it's one of
the few legit. I remember in the theater, it was a good jump scare when the second one comes out. Like,
out of the wall. Yeah. So we should mention going forward. So a few minutes later, a Deadite will appear like in the room he's in, like in the cooking soup and stuff like that, and turns around and it's a Deadite, and we actually hear the Deadite voice. But all the action scenes from now on feel more like action movies. Like they're staged differently than just a horror movie fight. They're meant to be hero moments, very specifically using his gun and stuff like that. So, and then the end, it's all action, all like sword play and action. So this is kind of as close as you get in this movie to the original movie's quote unquote horror. Even though they're dead, they're zombies and skeletons and stuff, but it's not played the same way. And then we come out and we get the very, very famous standout moments from these movies, which is the boomstick moment.
Look, if you were a college kid in the 90s, I don't know what it's like today.
This was tailor-made for us.
Right.
Our senior year of high school.
And the remainder of the decade.
This guy bullying people in 1300 AD, making them scared, shoving them.
This is the greatest scene I've ever seen in my life.
Introducing them to future death weapons.
Right.
Boomstick, obviously iconic. It's
the shop smart, S smart. A callback to something we only just were introduced to a few minutes ago, and yet works perfectly.
It still works perfectly. Him explaining things to them they don't even understand, like what it's made of and like what it sells for and all that stuff.
Right.
But like Boomstick like makes its way out of Evil Dead. Even like Boomstick is something that people call guns regardless, even if they don't know where it originally comes from. And and then after this moment, so can you blame him? Maybe not. They tried to kill him. They tried to feed him to demons. They hit him in the head with a rock and he fell in the pit. But after that, he's just
an absolute
everyone
prick.
With so much contempt.
Yes.
The immediate cut to Ash fucking eating grapes and slurping wine and burping,
spitting, and
how quickly. I don't even know, like, if I thought too hard about it, how he like. He's like, all right, now it's like, where are my grapes? Like, where
are my grapes at?
It's like he's being doted on by giggling women. And like, he's like the worst version of an Olympian god that you can think of, just arrogant and indulgent. And just holds everyone, just looks down on everyone. It's absolutely incredible. Just that transition going from that to originally to just being completely idolized and almost in a sort of fetishistic way. And Arthur hates it. But then even like Sheila comes in, and you understand that Sheila is, you know, to her credit, very sorry for how she treated him. She was wrong about him. Yeah. But also, she's also kind of like trying to get with him too, in a sort of opportunistic way. Like there's almost like I can be safe with this guy. I don't think anything part of it is super genuine, but it's all just really funny how fast this happens.
No, it's super funny. Yeah, now he's the super jerk. I remember, this is, you know, we're going about 20 years ago now, but this movie is, you know, 30 years old, which is when the first time I read someone say, oh, Ash at this point becomes Gaston, and being like, that's exactly it. Like, yeah, and Gaston is, of course, a villain. And we don't think that he's a murderer, Ash, of innocent people, but the persona is very Gaston. And it's funny that Bruce Campbell has a very distinct chin, like Gaston. And I thought that was a good analogy here, as far as like, yeah, the I am to be loved. There is people who will feed into that. Even as others have disdain for him.
And then still echoes, and as if anyone at this point forgets what movies these came from, the Deadite attacks, and Deadite plays dead, and there's a really cool close up of the face, and we see like the eyes open, but it's a trick, get an axe line, is for sort of like calls back to the first two movies, as far as like, yeah, Ash may have changed, but he still knows what to do when a Deadite shows up.
Yeah, there are, I was going to say similar, because it's like, yeah, there are a couple moments, as loose as these movies are with their sequel list, which is they are, but they also don't care that much. But there are moments that are kind of, you know, for us mythology buffs, as in our movie franchise mythology, it's like there are little moments that it's a trick, get an axe. Also, when he immediately smashes the mirror later, when he sees his reflection doing something weird, those are callbacks both for
when he takes down evil Ash. What does he do when he shoots him in the face? He chains him to the table and chainsaws him to bits. Like these are all Deadite 101 stuff.
No, it's like he's gone through these things that we saw, you know, some version of what we saw in those other movies he's gone through.
They should have said Bruce Campbell versus Bruce Campbell, and then people will be like, I don't know who either of those guys are.
You mentioned like, you know, we'll jump around in here a little, but it's like, yeah, when he chains evil Ash down. Now that's a bit that at this point, that's all three movies have the chaining someone down, because again, we're talking about these repeating visual bits and callbacks. All three movies have had the Raimi cam smash through a window and fly at a woman's face. Linda in 2 and 3, but I think it was another character in the first one. But now this one does something that got added with 2, which is the groovy montage.
They do a groovy callback. This time it's at the beginning of the movie. It's not, they don't wait for the end, because he's basically like, I'm going to need a hand. He makes a hand out of like a suit of armor and the glove part, and doing stuff we didn't know Ash could do. There was no setup for this at all, because we didn't know that much about him. Even just knowing he works at S-Mart doesn't like mean he knows how to do
He can make a motorized hand out of medieval.
That can with crushing strength, like extra strength.
Yes. It doesn't. It is funny though, because as fun as that stuff is, all the ads for this movie, the poster for this movie, and 90% of the merch for this movie have chainsaw arm, because it's cooler, you know.
Yeah, it's obviously cooler.
Even though he doesn't use it after the first few minutes of this movie.
He uses it, but not. He's used, like when he chops up Evil Ash, he uses it, but it's not his arm.
Right.
And that's the last time I think he uses it in this movie. So then we've got he takes down the Deadite. Really cool fight scenes. Some cool like camera movement here, tracking the action back and forth, and then the shooting from behind and the tremor he makes that's almost sort of orgasmic.
Yes.
And then we got again Sheila trying to make nice with him and gives him a blanket. And he says, asked if she was raised in a barn. Probably were raised in a barn.
This is where we're trying to resist saying everything.
I get the same thing, but we have to say, give me some sugar, baby, because give me some sugar, baby is one of the standouts.
Again, yeah.
Hail to the king, baby. Give me some sugar,
give me some sugar, baby, especially like Boomstick almost transcends the movie. I'm not saying it's not like Play It Again, Sam, but a lot of people know that line still. Like, and again, I know the movie didn't introduced the concept of saying "Give me some sugar, baby," but him saying it at that point, and even though we talk about how movies under modern lenses and things change, but this was always supposed to be a chauvinist asshole. And because like James Bond movies, like the early ones, famously have scenes where he's like being rough with a woman, and then he'll just kiss her, and she goes for it. This was at least very self-aware what it was doing, like the fact that like she's slapping him, he's treating her like shit, and then he can just say, "Give me some sugar, baby."
But like, and then he grabs her and he does what basically Harrison Ford made a career out of in the 80s, which is like taking a reluctant woman and punching her with his mouth, which is
right.
Like, Harrison Ford in Witness, Harrison Ford in Blade Runner, which is like, damn it, this woman is in love with me, even if she shows no signs of it. And maybe she's Amish and maybe she's a robot. Either way, I'm going to kiss her uncomfortably hard. And he doesn't quite kiss the same way, but it's sort of the same idea behind this, which is a throwback idea, which I think can lead us into talking about more about Raimi's throwback sensibilities, especially the movies that influenced this one, where he said "kid" a couple times in the last movie when he's talking to women. He's like, "Good job, kid," or calls Linda kid at one point. Here he says "baby." He says it's not just Sheila, but like he says it to Arthur too. He's like, "Just me, baby, just me."
Right.
And there's little bits of dialogue here that you weren't hearing from a guy in the 90s. This were 50s dialogue, or like wartime dialogue, or things that you think what people would say during medieval times, which is like, "Let's give them what for," and "Sally forth," and stuff like that weren't typical action movie dialogue. They're the sort of the throwback elements here. I don't even know if I at the time knew what "Sally forth" meant it's a joke line too, because his jaw is falling off when he says it. I just knew that it was a comic strip that, in retrospect, I realized was an actual wordplay because her name was Sally Forth, but that also meant something else. Like, but that comic strip was from the fucking 40s, so like,
right.
That's when people were saying that. So,
and this is why going back to Multiverse of Madness, which was going to naturally be Sam Raimi being seen along with the Spider-Man movies by people who don't normally go see like the other Sam Raimi movies. There's always going to be some people who like purposeful camp or purposeful, people talking old timey. They're just going to be like, that's cheesy, and not like it, and not get that that's kind of the joke, or not like the joke, because it's very specific. But for a lot of us, it just worked, even if, like you're saying, Matt, we didn't even get every single reference that was being thrown out here.
We still quoted them afterwards. Doesn't matter.
We still quoted them after. I didn't get, by the way, I was a bad little film nerd. I didn't know the source at this point of Klaatu Veratu Nikto.
The day the Earth stood still.
The Earth stood still, which is funny because I
probably didn't either. Honestly, yeah, I don't think I did.
But which is funny though, because I did have the Nikto and Barada Return of the Jedi action figures, because that had already
like, they're just doing Star Wars. Yeah.
I guess they love Star Wars, not knowing it was already one of those like go-to references.
It's just a sci-fi reference. Yeah. But yeah, so Ash, and even like, even him like saying, "Hey, close the door. What were you, raised in a barn?" That's a very old-timey parent thing to say.
Yeah.
Nobody says that anymore because people aren't raised in barns.
Weren't saying it for decades. Yeah. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll talk about the going out into the woods by himself.
No. That's what I was going to talk about. He gets a horse, so now we have Ash on horseback, and for the first time so the wise man tells him the words. He wants him to repeat them more. Ash refuses because, again, this is his sticking point for whatever reason.
It annoys him, Matt.
It just really, really, really irks him.
Right.
And then we get Raimi Cam, calling back to the other two movies, chasing again. What do people think who didn't watch these first two movies? What was chasing him in the woods, chasing him on a horse? Does he fall in the mud? You bet he does, because it's Bruce Campbell. He's going to get drenched.
Being directed by Sam Raimi.
It turns into a foot chase, and he goes into the wood mill, and then we get the Gulliver's Travels element here.
But first, I want to say two things before the Gulliver's Travels, which is one, there is a funny and at the time I remember noticing this, and it was amusingly distracting continuity error. This one being more direct, and this is not using Evil Dead 2 footage continuity error, which is just that because I know this movie had a little bit of reshoots besides the ending. We'll talk about the ending when we get to it. But I think even Bridget Fonda wasn't in the original production. But when they came back to shoot a little more, they added the new ending. They added Bridget Fonda, and I'm guessing they did some pickup shots because there is a very funny stuff of some close-ups of Bruce Campbell when he's running to get into that little barn, and his hair is so much shorter than the rest of the movie. I'm assuming he cut it.
I just always write it. I just always write it off to it's slicked from the mud.
You can argue that to a point, but it's just it's amusingly. Yeah. And then callback jokes, repeating jokes in a endearing way / callback jokes. They do the joke that was, I don't think it was in the first movie, but it was done twice in the second movie, which is the Ash still screaming even though it stopped banging on the door, you know. And it works
because
every time.
His screams are hilarious.
Yeah, the fact that he's
screams, him yelling at little tiny things that are annoying him are great.
Yes.
It's just any and all of aspects of Bruce Campbell being vocally unnerved is right up our alley. He goes into the windmill, this area. He fights these little ashes. They try to kill him. He accidentally steps on a nail, which is funny. In The Quiet Place with Emily Blunt, it wasn't funny.
Oh yeah, so many in many other movies, there's parts where this is horrific.
But like things that should really debilitate him, like drinking boiling water, his face being like on a sizzling grill that he has to spatula his.
That was the moment I wanted to mention, which is that obviously from the very first movie and just the credit fake Shemps, the Sam Raimi's love of Three Stooges has been present. Now, Evil Dead 2 took it way further and way more overtly comical with the punching himself, smashing a plate over his head part. Here, very direct Three Stooges references happen multiple times, and that type of comedy and him, the sizzling face spatula, and then I think one of two scenes that'll happen later on with the skeletons of the eye gouge, the Three Stooges Moe eye gouge happens in this part.
The ash that winds up going inside him. Again, we already mentioned the really off-kilter effects of the little ashes holding his nose shut. Becomes and grows within him, and this could have been like full Cronenbergian horror in itself of something else growing out of you. It's a
little brief body horror. Yeah.
Well, what happens is that it's all done off screen with a line. Oh God, it's growing bigger. We don't see it grow bigger. By the time he's outside, it's already like another torso. Like we don't see that part. Like it goes from eyeball to that.
And then there's the great. They both howl in front of the moon, just because it's funny. That's the part. It's not with the little ashes. It's the evil ash does the Moe eye gouge part.
Oh, like when they're
or is it the reverse?
On the same body.
I'm blind. Yeah, it's the reverse.
And then we get you're good Ash and I'm bad Ash. The goody little two shoes dance.
Yes.
The good bad. I'm the guy with the gun line. The chainsaws him up. So the whole thing was like, this is all very ludicrous. But it's amazing. And we didn't even know, like watching this movie at the time, that he's setting up an actual physical antagonist in this movie, like an actual bad guy to fight. It's a final boss. That's it doesn't have to be. It's him in a lot of makeup because of the shotgun face and decomposition. But so good Ash versus bad Ash, or medium Ash versus bad Ash.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gives him something at the end aside from Raimi Cam and like trees attacking and all that stuff to fight, because they need someone to lead an army toward the castle, and it has to be an actual person who can speak and all that stuff. So right now he's chopped up in the bits and he's buried. Again, Ash goes out of the way to make a cross.
The third movie in a row that's his thing. He will make you a cross, and we'll get a cool underneath shot of him putting it there.
And then we get the actual cemetery where the wise men said the Necronomicon is, and it is the 3-book challenge, which is there's the sucking book, the biting book, and then the final real book. Now, I always super laugh when the book is attacking him and flying around and biting him. There's one moment where he's fine, and then it bites him on the back of the neck, and he just goes,
It's great.
It kills me every time because of his scream.
Sorry, what are you gonna say?
No. It's a weird moment to pick out of a whole movie of moments.
No,
but
I get it. I'm about to
time.
mention we're almost at a part where I'll mention a minutia like that for me. But I was gonna mention just here that if like you're like trying to make this series work for you on a lower level in a way that it's not designed to, as much as I love that stuff, I was thinking about the fact that the books in Evil Dead 2013 and in Evil Dead Rise do not physically match the books exactly from the first three. They don't have the face as distinct. But I was like, well, Army of Darkness introduces that there's multiple books. So if you want to be like, these are variations, these are different copies that were made. There you go. This introduces that idea. Also, I laugh a lot at when he's doing the like his face is all stretched and it does that jump cut to him back to normal and he just goes, whoa. Very, very funny. We've talked I think it's almost a weekly segment as we watch these movies lately of things that made Carol Goldman laugh. Also, even when I recommended Reanimator, which is my mom thought the Klaatu Veratu was hysterical. Like she thought
it's funny.
No, it is. I agree. I just like when my mom finds something really funny in the middle of these crazy movies, and that one really got her.
I mean, yeah, and then like to try to cover. Well, first of all, he tries to think of the word, and he's like necktie, nectar. But then
definitely, and very funny performance-wise.
The coughing cover-up.
But so before that, his desperation is extremely funny that Bruce Campbell plays in this part.
He awakens the army of the dead because he's a bonehead and he's escaping, and then this is when they grab him, and this is when like this again, new and inventive ways to put Bruce Campbell through the ringer, just like skeleton hands, pulling out his mouth, tongue, his nose.
Like this is the eye gouge again, and they do the Three Stooges. He blocks it successfully, but then they come from both sides to get him.
But like you asked way back in the first movie, like what do people see when Raimi Cam is chasing them? Like when they look back. What does he see when he looks forward? He
screams and
goes,
they all punch him.
And it's like six fists come out of off screen.
What was he looking at? And how horrific was it? I asked the same question. And then this is the part, kind of like you were just mentioning with the flying book. I really laugh at this part if you pay attention that because again, this movie has like I put air quotes around obvious effects, which is to say like the scenes show, but you don't feel like they knew that's okay. We're having fun here. So the fact that when all these skeleton hands, which are obviously like puppet skeleton hands, are hitting him, punching him, one of them, the whole scene is just tapping him on the shoulder like it's an annoyance. Like, I just think that's just so funny. Like, there's one, the others are all like abusing him, hitting him.
Hey, look over here.
It's like, do you feel me? And I love that.
He escapes.
Again, guys, I partially apologize that we're just like,
I know that's why I'm trying to rush through.
We can't help it. We're just like, and then it's funny.
I'm hoping that they've seen it and they love it too, and it's not. Too annoying.
I'm gonna say, here's my mild getting actual film analytical for a moment here. I love this movie start to finish. I will say, I think what 100% makes this movie like over the top cult favorite and made it like forever quotable is the first third. Like it's like the stuff when he's being an asshole to those villagers, and all that. Like the pacing isn't quite as strong in the rest of the movie, but it's still got so many great stuff after that.
And he returns with the book to the castle, and it becomes quite clear that he fucked up and he messed up the words.
And he says, "Get the fuck out of my face," which was one of my favorites.
F-bomb. And then he's like, "Well, maybe I didn't say every teeny tiny syllable." And they just look at him with disgust. What a bunch of fair weather friends there. Like they were feeding him grapes and wine and just like waiting on him hand and foot. And then all of a sudden it's like, you disgust me. Can I call him coward?
But I will say it's interesting because on a tonal level, this is probably the most sincere the movie gets. For a split second, is Ash actually looking like
he's actually has an arc. So the thing is like, what can be an Ash arc? So to give him an arc in this movie, they made him terrible, and so that he can redeem himself, which is
By
the
not
movies
being
didn't need to do. They
Yeah.
just needed to like have him be attacked by ghouls. This one they actually needed a little bit of tiny bit of character study.
Yeah.
And so they started by so they have to humble him so that he can rally and become the leader at the end to take them to victory. You know, the prophecy must have always been for him to fail at first and raise the army of the dead so that they could come together and defeat them as a united front. And but at this point, a flying deadite comes in and takes Sheila.
Yeah.
And so that also extra motivates him. And that at that point,
and we get the great over the top "damn you," which is again like when he screams about the bridge in Evil Dead 2, the like purposeful hamminess moment.
Then so speaking of hamminess, Bad Ash is there raising his skeleton army, and it's just a bunch of silly gags, just a bunch of skeletons waking up and coughing, seeing Sheila and going,
"Welcome back to the land of the living. Now grab a shovel and get digging."
That's a sight for sore bones, you know. Like it's all
there's
dumb
no
as
bad
shit.
puns,
Yeah,
only perfect puns.
And
it's there's some creepy rapiness here. Evil Ash.
It's off. You assume that that's what's happened, right? Like
the force
forced
kiss
himself upon Sheila, and
then it's weird. This is a weird part, which is I guess a light reason. Like, well, we do get pseudo bare boobs with like there's a couple other like slave girls brought by, and one of the skeletons goes, "We got plans for you, girly girl." We never see any of these women ever again. I don't know what those plans were. And I don't know if they were successful because
they just want to make us soup.
Yeah, because those women don't appear.
I'm going to run this by you. I love the ending, and I love it. I prefer it to what would have been another cliffhanger.
Me too.
The ending that, as it stands, is amazing.
Yes,
it's worth saying that the original ending of this movie, the other ending is explored actually in the ending of the TV show coming up. But it's funny that to say. I always wanted Ash to take Sheila with him, Bill and Ted style. And my dream ending would have been the same thing, except as soon as he's done telling Ted Raimi all about his time back in 1300 AD and him not believing him, he turns and the employee is Sheila, and she's like, "Well, I believe you." And it's sort of a knowing wink, and she's come back into the modern times, and he's gotten her a job at S-Smart. And I thought that would have been funny anyway. But anyway, so not to take work away from Miss Angela Featherstone, but I thought that would have been fun. And then she's also the drummer for this band called Wild Stallions.
And they go to a water
park. I have a whole Army of Darkness, Evil Dead.
They perform a kiss. They perform a Kiss song. It's crazy.
Bill and Ted versus the Army of Darkness. Yeah, they sing "God Gave Rock and Roll to You."
There's the part after that. Again, there's these very funny these moments that like the old timey thing, the fast talking thing. When the camera is spinning back and forth when everyone's like arguing and cross talking. Kudos to that one actor, the one who's like, "I'm afraid. I don't want to die.
I don't want to die." That wasn't Ted Raimi?
I don't. Was it? It might have been.
I think it was.
Well, that's right, because he's got a bunch of roles in this, doesn't he? Yeah.
He just wears different wigs and glasses and stuff.
What a great set. And another non-Ash line that we all got mileage of, but I feel like Jonah Krakow got the most mileage out of.
Maybe I'm a Chinese jet pilot.
Well, that one, which is when I got Bruce Campbell to sign my Army of Darkness poster, he wrote something about Chinese jet pilot. No, I was saying, but a non-Bruce Campbell line, "You can count on my steel."
Yeah, that's forever, because that would be echoed later in Fellowship of the Rings, where people said similar things when they were joining Frodo on
and that's sincere, but the Army of Darkness version of that scene was ingrained in many of our heads. Yeah.
All right, so here's some questions for you. So once again, Ash uses his boomstick to get everyone's attention. Like everyone's like talking amongst themselves and like in this bit of chaos, and he shoots into the air, gets everyone's attention, and he's like, "Go home and cry to mama," and he gives a great speech, and he rallies them, and we get a big montage as the army marches to the castle. a lot of action, which we'll get to, but he says, "Ooh, that's gotta hurt." Now, that's a line that's sort of been echoed a lot in action movies and overused at a certain point, but I don't feel it was at this point. Was he the first to be like, "Ooh, that's gotta hurt"?
No, that definitely predated that. Yeah,
I'll say this: Spaceballs has "That'll Leave a Mark."
Yeah.
When Barf gets too fast and he's still wearing the seatbelt.
Sure. No, but that was also said beforehand.
Barf, not in here, you don't, mister.
But yeah, it's just funny. I mean, obviously, Danny Elfman had already worked with Raimi on Darkman, and this is like we've talked about how Joseph DeLuca, who scored all the Evil Dead stuff and would continue to work with Raimi on all the TV shows, and he also did Spartacus and all this stuff. It's just like, this is the one movie where both his composing guys worked together on this one, because Joseph DeLuca did the main score, but Danny Elfman did the March of the Dead. Elfman so quickly, within just a few years, becoming so prominent as a film composer, and now this is the second movie we've done after Scream 2, where it's like he didn't do the score, but he did like an important piece of music. Like, just get some Danny Elfman in there. So the
what was playing when? So it wasn't his score that was playing during the montage, though. It's
not during the getting ready montage. That's the
getting ready montage.
It's the March of the Dead is played during the March of the Dead.
The fucking femurs as flutes. It's all
yes.
So,
dun, dun, dun.
But yeah, and then we get basically big time action with like. Where people are not only hit with flaming arrows, but they blow up too, because and
this is where you do see some of Raimi's future.
So we got stuntmen and puppets and just basically dummies, sort of a mix of all three.
It's a mix of four, because there's also more stop motion. So like Evil Ash is a great example of this, because it's mostly Bruce Campbell, but then he becomes back as a puppet who's also stop motion for some shots, so everything mixed together here in a really fun way. But yeah, Raimi definitely, like, this is a leveling up for him, because yes, he was doing action in Darkman, but this is like big group scenes, armies, again, on a low budget scale, but two armies fighting each other, big action set pieces that'll kind of it's funny, it's like, this is like when the Scarlet Witch attacked Hermitage,
and then we got catapults too, adding more action and blowing up and explosions. I want to say that Arthur has kind of a recurring bit, and even though he's sort of noble and sacrificial at the end and very selfless when trying to save his people, in the beginning, when the first time Ash uses his gun and blows up his sword, he's like, "Sword boy," and the boy comes up and he like kicks him down. So he does feel like an 80s bully at a certain point. Yeah. Like he is sort of an arrogant leader, king / guy. But then at the end, when the arrows are lined up and he goes, "Torch boy," I can't see if it's the same boy or not, because he's below the ramparts, but his little arm come up and light.
I like to believe Torch Boy is Sword Boy. Torch Boy is a better position, so he's actually moved up.
Yeah, he doesn't have to get kicked into the dirt.
There's so many great things, like little things here. Yeah, there's a Raimi cam behind a cannonball, like point of view of the cannonball. I really like when one of the skeletons just goes before he blows up. And then again, like, the fact that this movie can have fun with the fact that it's low budget and they didn't have the biggest effects budget. There's this great shot when Ash comes out in the car, the classic Raimi's car that's in all of his movies, and he's got the giant propeller on the front of it, and they're like, it's, he's just mowing them down. But there's this one great shot, slow-mo, and the propeller is chopping up a skeleton, and this skeleton is not even moving. They didn't have money to make it an animatronic being sliced up, but they just add like screaming skeleton noises in slow-mo.
It's clearly perfect. Just an actual, fake skeleton there.
It has no movement, but it's still.
Yeah. Well, other times it is like a stunt double being pulled back by a rope, to simulate being knocked by the propeller. Sheila shows up and distracts Ash so that he does there's a big car crash in this and like totals the Oldsmobile again.
Bill Moseley. I don't even know if it's him. It sounds like it's dub, but his character has at least one line. He goes, "We've secured the courtyard, my lord." That was the line that I was sure that his character said.
And just really fun action here as far as like sword fighting. We get them fighting with like, they're both
they both have two
before,
swords.
When John Woo had the two guns, there were two swords in this movie. They both like use them in both hands,
and decent choreography. I'm not saying it's like one of the greatest sword fights ever, but it's exciting. It's
not John Wick or anything, but it's really fun, and even for the time, it wasn't. It was pretty. I think elements of it were ahead of its time.
No, it's fast moving. The fact that they're both using two swords. And even when Ash stabs Evil Ash in the shoulder and then just does the flip over him and then stabs him in the back with the other sword, that was cool. That was like legitimately.
And they had set up that he does things from the back in this movie with the backwards gunshot too. So it's like that's one of his finishers, but it didn't quite work the way he wanted to. He gets Bad Ash gets a face full of torch. He goes over the side. This is when you mentioned he comes back as a Harryhausen style and stop motion creature with a different voice and everything too. He's more Skeletor-y because skeletons after Skeletor, Eric, all skeletons have the Skeletor voice.
They do
before that, they did not sound like a little whiny idiot. They sounded like I don't know what they sounded like, but after Skeletor, everything changed in the world of skeleton voices.
That's your quote in the documentary. After Skeletor, everything changed. There's Henry, does the Han Solo, does the I'm here to help. He does the on your left. Whenever your heroes are all's help is lost, Henry comes in with his army.
He screams bows, blood, and death. And it reminded me of when we laughed at speaking of Robin Hood,
Blood for Frogs.
Blood for Frogs. in the Russell Crowe Robin Hood movie. Blood for Frogs.
That in the commercials. Still never seen this film. That
it lives in the trailer for us. I don't know if it made it to the final theatrical release. I have no idea.
Great shot. Again, just a non-moving. I say puppet. It's not even a puppet. Just a non-moving prop, but great shot of Henry slow-mo smashing the skull of one of the skeletons
with his Morning Star. Did we scream Blood for Frogs in the IGN offices over and over again for a week? Probably.
We did. We sure did.
And then he uses the catapult and a bomb and the thing. And there was a great moment too earlier when Ash, once again, like with the chain at the beginning when he whipped his belt around it, uses a pulley system to chop and pull himself up, crushing an approaching crawling skeleton with rocks who has a knife in his mouth. He's gonna, I think, what does he say? He's gonna I'm gonna cut your, I can't remember.
Cut your gizzard out. I'm gonna get your gizzard out. When he defeats Evil Ash, there's a lot of funny things. Again, this is a cartoon. So when he hits him and his head spins around, finally stops spinning, and then the eyes spin. I'm surprised.
When his head just lets out steam, and you hear
the horn, the horn,
a train horn,
and it's amazing. And he screams, and his top of his skull opens up because he's about to die. And
because not a lot of people know this. That happens to all of us when we're about to die in real life.
Right before when I texted Matt and I said I can start in a few minutes, and he said he needed 20 minutes. So I caught up. Spoilers for SmackDown this week. I caught up on the latest on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Are you caught up, Matt?
Oh, because you were talking about the hug between Henry and Arthur.
Yes, Henry and Arthur, also old friends. I don't know if they're old friends, but also
I feel like they were.
Everyone screaming, "Hug it out!" And Arthur and Henry hug it out. And they're it's got a guy with red hair and a beard. It's perfect.
It's all perfect. And then Henry stunned Arthur. And
I like that. Yeah, I like when Ash says, "Hey, Henry, you had us going." After that. With that whole "I'm gonna attack Arthur" bit.
Basically he's so I said the word. He's telling Ted Raimi back at S.
Well, no, two things I want to mention before we get to S Mart. Visual callback to End of Evil. It's so funny that the End of Evil Dead 2 doesn't quite exist at the beginning of this movie because they reshot it, but the fists raised up together matches the final shot of Evil Dead 2. And then after that, because that's when we get very quickly, we get Ian Abercrombie as the wise man handing him the potion and telling him what to do. Very obviously ADR'd. I mean, they had Ian Abercrombie do it, but his lips are not saying what he's saying because they reshot the ending. So it's like he was saying different rules of what he was supposed to do, but they had to change that.
So we should mention the alternate ending here, which has
The
Ash,
original,
the original one that has Ash winding up in a post-apocalyptic future in London still, which is weird because he winds up in the UK medieval times from America, but then when he goes forward, he sticks to the same country
because in the original, because he's told, and I rewatched it tonight. That ending, it's like he's told, take 6 drops of this and you will sleep for exactly the amount of time.
He sleeps too long,
because he takes he messes up the count. And although I'm gonna get into my minutia here. Even the wise man says each drop is a century, so 6 drops will get you back to your time. 6 drops would get him back to 1900. Actually, he should go for 7 because that would be the year 2000. Although arguably that's what happens, because maybe this is what happened in the year 2000.
That's still the future.
yeah.
It's still 7 years later.
Although I'm just saying he wouldn't want to go to 1900. He'd want to go at least a few years past that. But yeah, so he just goes. It's very Back to the Future 3, which had already come out, because they put he and the car go into a cave, and the idea that just the car being there through the time. Then he wakes up and he's got a Rip Van Winkle beard. And he comes out, he's all happy until he sees that it's post-apocalyptic, that it's something terrible is happening. And again, it's so funny that it's a parallel to the end of Evil Dead 2, that what didn't actually happen at the beginning of this movie, because once again he's like, oh God, no.
Does he say I slept too long? No.
He says, oh God, no. So it's just like Evil Dead 2, but then he goes, I slept too long, and puts his head down. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember it. It's been a while since I watched that.
And this is this is a case again. Nothing is hard, fast rules. And we talked about this, how, it's terrible when studio interferes. They ruin everything, until people were like, the studio should have told that guy he can't do everything he wants. Anyway, this to me is a clear-cut case, yes, of a studio wanting a different ending, and they were right. They didn't like the other ending for, I think, a silly reason for this
different
movie,
reasons, but yeah.
Which is they just didn't like that it was a downbeat ending. But I think the ending they chose, that the reshoot ending, is just more fun and fits this movie's tone better, honestly. And
I honestly think that we wouldn't hold the movie as high, as highly as we do, and think if we didn't have the ending we have.
If we didn't have that ending, and we didn't end on that line,
it's such a crowd-pleasing ending. That it really does bookend and change so much. Because you did say that so much of the memorable parts of this movie are in the first act. Well, then you got to include the ending too, because brings everything back together. The third act action is a lot of fun in a very different way than we'd seen in Evil Dead movies, but this one really was the perfect finish that encapsulates the character, allows him to be the sort of arrogant dork that he is, but it's kind of like he goes back into as what we would look down upon as a career at S-Mart, like as a clerk at a department store, where he could have been king, like he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
And so, but this is who he is now. And so for him, his 1300 self to shine through in the present in a way. And at this time, getting a girl who seemed into him already. So what doesn't seem bad that he he just kisses her. It's just so good. And the action too is great. Like when he throws the gun and then he just rapid fire shoots that thing in a totally unrealistic way compared to how much ammo is in it. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. And
in the air and the trampoline,
the trampoline, that's the great extra funny, again, because the studio said we want a happier ending, and they didn't say this should be it. Raimi went off and had to come up with a different ending. And I think what a great example of being told we need a happy ending and being very creative about it. And that everything you just mentioned, and then her, bouncing off that trampoline and being in the air too long, but it's so great as he keeps shooting her.
Well, too long. He throws the gun and then jumps and then waits to as it flips.
I shouldn't say too long. Perfectly long.
It's one of those things that all these directors who loved old serials play with, which is the concept of time, and you give things a couple extra seconds, because Raimi does it constantly with, it looks like Raimi Cam is literally in the lap of somebody, but it turns out they back him up 10 more feet, so they can keep running or turn around or something like that. it's a way of playing with how close something actually is to our hero that the serials of yesteryear used to do quite a bit.
And then the Hail to the King, in My Own Way I Am King, Hail to the King, baby. I think you're absolutely right. This solidified like that this movie would have a cult audience that would grow upon Evil Dead 2's cult audience, because it was a crowd pleaser. Like
it would have been a great movie, fun movie without it, but it needed this to endure for these decades and become so rewatchable. Like, so the studio was right.
Always listen to them, and they're
always listen to the studio, except when they're dumb,
right? Except when they ruin things.
All right, we are going to get a serious case of 180 tone going into the next Evil Dead movie.
I mean, and it's crazy that it was dormant for so long because it was it was just
so after this there were comic books, and there was like people trying to get Ash into the Freddy Jason universe, and there was that
video game, and we should mention that because the first two movies were independent, but this one's Universal, and so forevermore to this day you'll see merch branded Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and you'll see merch branded Army of Darkness. You'll see a lot of comic books branded Army of Darkness, less Evil Dead, and that's because this happens with a lot of series and specific sequels, but it's more apparent here because of the title. Anything Army of Darkness is Universal, and they've licensed more because they're Universal. That's why there's so much Halloween 2 specific Michael Myers stuff.
Right.
So yeah, it's like there's so like Army of Darkness versus Marvel Zombies was like Universal making a deal with Marvel.
Well, we should also talk about, like, after this movie, Raimi had a big 90s. So it's kind of like, it's crazy that it was 2 decades before another movie came out, but it also wasn't, because not only did he create Hercules and Xena, but he had movies like Quick and the Dead, and he, like, for those looking for something actually, the least Sam Raimi he's almost ever been, A Simple Plan for the Love of the Game.
Yeah.
Like in the 90s, which is when he was like trying to do just like, hey, what if I just did a normal movie, cool drama, and then we're in the Spider-Mans, right? Yeah. So
don't forget,
makes sense that it took
was The Gift him?
What was The Gift?
The Gift, The Gift.
Did I see The Gift?
Let's see, 2000 film.
Oh God, I kind of remember. I'm looking at it now. Yeah. Keanu Reeves. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it was mostly Cate Blanchett, but yeah,
it was Cate Blanchett's the lead. Katie
Holmes,
it
was written by Billy Bob Thornton too.
Yeah. Katie Holmes had a topless scene that was very jarring, just because it was like
Katie
people
Holmes,
that you don't expect to see topless in something.
So yeah, he had worked. We should mention he worked with Billy Bob Thornton, who was excellent, along with Bill Paxton, already mentioned in this podcast, and also Bridget Fonda, Linda 3, in A Simple Plan, which is a terrific movie. We should recommend that at some point. Okay,
and The Gift is also the first time I think he works with J.K. Simmons. I think it directly led to J. Jonah Jameson. But yeah,
he was busy. So he was busy doing things. Yeah. And Bruce Campbell was doing his own things too. He had some short-lived series. He had Briscoe County. I can't remember what that other series was that he King of Thieves or something.
Jack of Trades,
Jack of Thieves, something.
we're gonna get there. But yeah,
Jack of all trades. Yeah,
there'd always be questions about more Evil Dead. And it became more and more popular as a cult thing, and there was more and more of an audience for it. Like, we joked about, it's like after Army of Darkness, it was just so perpetually popular and rewatched in the revival scene. But yeah, it would take quite a while. It was Jack.
But then also, to be honest, because the studio changed that ending and they had Raimi reshoot something, there was an ending.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so if it had ended with him in a post-apocalyptic world, there'd be like, where's the next movie? And there would have been even more clamoring for like some follow-up.
You left on a cliffhanger. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
This does not leave on a cliffhanger. So it's kind of like done and done. And I think it was just easier to sort of like let it stay dormant than if it ended on an open-ended type of thing. Anyway, but everyone was busy.
Yeah, everyone was busy. But although it's just, as we'll talk about as we go through, it's like they kind of got to do a pseudo remake, as we'll talk about next week. Is not a direct remake, but it's a remake-ish. And then they did the straight up requel with Ash versus Evil Dead. But But yeah, Army of Darkness is great. It's terrific. It all delivers. A couple little lingering things I'll mention from the closing credits, which is I laughed that the end of the credits said the ultimate experience in medieval horror. So they had a little callback to their history there. And then a name that I did not realize had worked on this movie, but also I didn't know a lot about his career, it turned out, was when I saw that sound designer Alan Howarth. Alan Howarth co-composed the scores for Halloween 2 and 3 with John Carpenter, and then after John Carpenter had stepped away completely, he wrote the scores on himself for Halloween 4, 5, and 6. I didn't realize that composing film scores is kind of his side gig. And if you look at his IMDb, it's mostly sound design work on like Star Trek movies and The Running Man and Back to the Future movies, and just a shitload of stuff that he's done sound design on, including this. So shout out to Alan Howarth. And this movie had like K&B worked on it again, and Tony Gardner, who now does all the Chucky dolls, did stuff on this movie too. So like all these people, like, you know, early on in their career, lots of burgeoning careers on this movie. There's also some weird stuff about this movie and Dino De Laurentiis and Universal, and how they were there was something about the Hannibal Lecter rights, which are famously kind of split,
right?
Already, that this was like got used as a pawn. One of the reasons this movie did sit on the shelf for a while, and that's why it's listed as a 92 release when it came out in 93, was something where they were trying to figure out the future, because Universal would release the Hopkins Hannibal sequels, even though they didn't release Silence of the Lambs. So this got, and De Laurentiis, you know, has always been involved in all that stuff too. So there you go.
There you go.
tangential. Anyway, Army of Darkness rules, and it's very quotable. And I hope people, if they were seeing it for the first time, enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I'd be surprised. I if you watch this for the first time, let us know. Right into Patreon or the Gmail and all that, because I'm very curious.
You never know, like how many people are seeing these first time.
So did Joe, who watched? No, it wasn't. It was Brian from New Jersey, who watched Evil Dead 2 for the first time. Had he seen Army of Darkness?
No idea. And also, because let's also mention that, not shockingly, it's like this, when you think this is a series that has done one of those huge changes from the beginning to where we are with this third one, there are people who will very distinctly say, hey, this is my least favorite. I don't like that it became a flat out goofy, barely horror comedy. And I get that, you know, it's like, this is a very different movie. And the second one, as goofy as it is firmly horror comedy. It's very gory and bloody.
Yeah, but does the second one have Torch Boy?
Yeah, this one wins for Torch Boy, but I get it that some people, that Torch Boy is not their thing, but it's
Blood for Frogs.
Yeah.
All right. Next week, Evil Dead 2013. Everyone prepare. Warning everyone, it's very gross. So
it is.
Yeah, if it's not your thing.
Body horror.
Your thing.
It's got plenty.
All right. Until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real. Hail to the King, baby, and Shakma.
Shakma.